School of Logistics, to our esteemed guest speaker, to the faculty members of CI School of Logistics, to the industry guests who have joined in today, and my dear students. Today, we are proud to present the 13th episode of weekly webinar series from CI School of Logistics. And we have with us Mr. Sandeep Juneja. He's Vice President, Sales and Marketing, DHL. Mr. Juneja has built his career in DHL when he started, I think, way back in 2004. As sales manager, national customers, and over a period of time, he has been with DHL and risen to the post of Vice President, Sales and Marketing. Now, I have a very interesting story to tell. I call him the rock star of logistics because when we had advertised his poster on the LinkedIn, we had so many inquiries, and we have never had, more than 50 comments on any of our LinkedIn posts. But for him, we have had almost like 170 responses and counting. So there's a lot of excitement to hear him, as I believe he's the best in the industry. And without much further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Sandeep Juneja. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Hi, thank you very much for that. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
They say the most common line these days, which is the most used all the time, is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. So what I'm saying is, everybody, the most common line these days is, can you hear me? Right. So that's the most common line. Okay. Yeah. All right. So thank you for having me. I have a slightly bad throat, but I think you said very kind words about me. I'm not sure whether all of them are true, but thank you very much. You've indeed made my afternoon. I'm already feeling good about myself. Right. So thank you very much. Okay, so here is also, I think you gave me a topic, and Sanita, I think I discussed with you that, rather than sharing plain Jane stuff around account management or business development per se, I'll tell you my take and my learnings of what I've had in my current organization.
Sure.
And maybe some of them, as I go through it, will resonate with people. And if you like something, you want to ask me something, go ahead and ask me. I think my idea largely is to tell you what is it that makes an organization good from inside. And if it makes the organization good from inside, it automatically starts looking good from outside, right? So absolutely. It's our journey, DHL's journey, to become good from inside. And we often talk about a famous book, right? From good to great. So I think that's the journey we set upon ourselves, and I'll talk about that journey. Yeah.
Welcome.
Okay. I'll share my screen. Give me a second. Let me know if you can see my screen. I'll present it.
Yes. Yes, we can.
Give me a second, please. Yes. There you go. All righty. Okay.
Good to go.
And I'll use my laser pointer to talk through the. All right,
sure.
So there you go. So I think this is the DHL story, scripting the turnaround story. So you can see not too long ago, we were a company in deep red. It's about 10, 11 years for that matter, 2020, so 11 years ago. And we are part of a larger group, Deutsche Post DHL. And therefore, this was a company which was bleeding away money from the group. That's when I think we sort of re-engineered what we were doing and scripted a turnaround story. And as we went through the motions, I'll tell you how it looked like, right? So this was our turnaround story. So from 2.1 billion euros, which is about 16,000 crores of loss in 2008. In 19, we delivered a positive EBIT of 2 billion euros, right? So a full turnaround, and you can see how the numbers have moved. And in that sense, today we are a blue-eyed organization within the group and within the industry per se, on the way we've done things and really become so profitable. So this is the story, and the story really is about discovering our strategy, discovering our purpose of strategy. And the second is how is it that we wove a culture around the whole strategy. And the third is how did we come into the winning mindset, right? So, and I'll build upon these three, which is strategy, culture, and winning mindset as I talk through the story, right? So fact is, and you must have heard these lines enough, that if you can't explain it simply, the reality is that you don't understand it well enough, right? So very often we say that, you know, I was explaining to that person, but that person just didn't understand it, right? So the fact is because we are not explaining it simply enough. And when you have a large organization and you have 100,000 people in the organization, and frankly, we are in 220 countries, and if you go and tap the shoulder of somebody at the front line or a frontline supervisor, because a frontline supervisor will manage 8 to 10 people, let's say. But if the frontline supervisor is not clear about what the company stands for, his team will not be clear what the company stands for, right? So we have about 10,000 supervisors, which includes me, supervisors and managers put together. And if I was to tap the shoulder of a person and ask him, you know what do we stand for? What's our strategy? And he's not able to tell me, well, that's a coming to Jesus question, by the way, then we're not explaining it simply enough. I mean, and let's not blame people because they're not understanding it. So from doing too many things, I think the first thing we did was from doing just the right things and cleaning up our whiteboard with just too many things, right? And then we launched a strategy. And our thought was that the essence of a strategy is we have to make choices of what not to do. Now that's very, very, very difficult. And a lot of us know that it's very complicated. You really don't want to give up anything, right? So, I mean, why talk about such large organizations? We have old stuff lying at our homes and we don't want to give it up, right? So the essence of strategy for us was choosing what not to do. And we really came up with a 4-point strategy, and I'll explain it to you. It's so powerful. And it started that the order is extremely important, right? The order is the first is motivated people. And very often, and everybody is chasing is, I want a profitable organization. So hey, step back, you know. Say, I want loyal customers. No, hang on, step back. Huh? Okay, I want step back, right? Now, if you have motivated people, right? Motivated people, motivated from within, it radiates, right? And it shows in the way they do things, right? And this is the holy grail, really. I mean, and when you have 100,000 people, how focused are you on this one pillar, which is called motivated people? It's very simple to say, but motivated people are fully connected. They're emotionally involved. They know what you stand for, and they stand for the same thing themselves. So we said, you know what, this is one thing that is absolutely the holy grail. Motivated, forget everything else, motivated people. And there's so much we've done around it, so much conceptually and otherwise also in terms of employee engagement, that the other steps then start following, right? Because unless this happens, nothing happens. And very often, I think people are so focused on EBIT improvement measures, which is right at the end, that the first three get compromised in some way or the other. So if you have motivated people, you know for sure that they will ensure that you deliver great service quality. And if you deliver great service quality, you know for sure that you will have loyal customers. And if you have loyal customers, you don't have to think twice. You know for sure that you'll have a profitable business. And we call it network because it's 220 countries, a large network that we run, the big yellow machine. But this is the sequence. And therefore, if you now go and ask one of the 10,000 supervisors or managers within our company and tap his shoulder and ask him, you know what, what's your strategy? He'll say, our strategy is the focus strategy. Say, oh, what's the focus strategy? And he'll say, motivated people, delivering great service quality, creating loyal customers, and thus generating profitable business for our network, right? So that clarity brings the focus sharply on motivated people. And then your KPIs, the way you do things, everything, you are trying to measure how strong are you on the first pillar, which is motivated people. I think this was the turnaround deja vu moment for us, wherein the thought became clear. As it became clear, it became simple. As it became simple, everybody understood it. And as everybody understood it, the real change started happening where it's supposed to happen, not in the corner room of the CEO, but on the floor when the first line supervisor was making sure that we had motivated people. So that's the power of this simple focus strategy. And every time somebody asks us from 2010, I think when we launched it, till now, hey, what's your strategy? We said we have a focus strategy. We're very focused. Is the strategy changing every year? I mean, you go to conferences and they have a new strategy every year. This year's strategy is, no. The strategy remains solidly bound at the center, and the bells and whistles can change around it. So our strategy, therefore, is not changed. We are fully focused on motivated people. So I think that was our discovery where it all started. Okay, so the other then, what does it lead to? And then let me now debunk myself of what I said. The culture eats strategy for breakfast. So how do you build this culture, right? So as long as the culture is around more people, I think it starts building. So therefore, the first was the culture of quality, right? So now, all of us know the logistics is a service, and all of us know that when you are logistics, for example, marketing has 4 Ps. But marketing of products has 4 Ps, but for services has 7 Ps, right? So one of the many people, process, etc., get added to the 4 Ps. And service is very, very ticklish, right? Because in a product, when you make a product, for example, you make air conditioners, you make them in the factory, you do quality testing, and you take the products out. Yeah, but when you're offering a service, for example, we are in shipping. When we pick up your shipment, our product manufacturing starts. As we move the shipment from your plant, from your office to our facility in wherever, Delhi, Bombay, etc., to the airport and do customs clearance, I'm manufacturing my product, which is a service. And therefore, as I'm manufacturing my product, you are experiencing my manufacturing cycle. As I ship it, I put it on air. As I land it in the US, I do customs. You are an integral part. You are witnessing the manufacturing with your eyes, right? It doesn't happen in products like this, but in services, it happens like that, right? And therefore, the customer is an integral part of the manufacturing cycle in services. And logistics is a service, and a very complicated service at that. It's one of the most complicated businesses you can really get into, right? So therefore, what holds you tight? What holds you tight is the quality of people. And what is the glue between the people is the processes. One of the P's or 7 P's, the processes. So therefore, how is it that you make a Bible for every department of a services company and people live and die by that Bible? That for us is a global standard operating procedure. And that GSOP runs, as you can see, across departments, right? You have standard operating procedures for all functions within a service-oriented company. Now, this is a journey that you come on, because if you're a company in a city, you can do it. If you're a company in a nation, it becomes complicated. When you're a company in 220 countries, it's very difficult, right? So it's a slow and steady climb. But as long as your compass is towards your standard operating procedures, it's going to happen. So if there's something going wrong, you have to be clear in your mind that the GSOP is not being followed. Yeah, so you come back to a GSOP and realize why it's not being followed. If anything goes wrong across the network, you bring it back to the GSOP. So I think all the functions following a GSOP and doing it as one is what solidly defined our culture of quality, right? So, and you see that the quality is across various touch points, right? Because the external environment is touching us at booking, a pickup, a track, trace, when we deliver, when we do billing, and I'll touch upon that later. So therefore, our global SOP covers all the end-to-end processes in this manner. Just give me a second, please. Yeah, in this manner. Yeah. Okay. Right. So how do we bring it to life? The way we bring it to life is that we put standard measures across departments, right? And a lot of people do it. We call it dashboards. Now I've hidden the numbers in the dashboards, but as you can see, if I'm the CEO of my company, the way I look at things is I'm looking at dashboard of commercial, of finance. HR has a dashboard, operations, customer service, and IT. So you see how beautifully these dashboards are talking to each other. Now the KPIs can be many. Now it can be an involved process. But when you're running a complex company and you're multifunctional, you have to have these kinds of dashboards who talk to each other, because it's possible that something is going wrong in this dashboard here in customer service, and you see the impact here in revenue numbers or finance in terms of EBIT numbers. Yeah. So therefore, you see that the different elements of the dashboard are talking to each other. So that is another measure. So, but what you can't measure, you can't improve, right? So you set up a GSOP, and then you start measuring standard metrics, right? So then you say, you know what, you can't measure, you can't improve. The other thing that we realized as we were going down this direction was that fat cats don't hunt, right? And so I'll give you a very homespun example. So I belong to Dehradun. I shifted from Dehradun to Delhi. I got settled in Delhi for a very long time. And then I joined DHL. I came to Bombay. When I was leaving my house in Delhi and I was coming to Bombay, I realized there was so much stuff in my house. And my wife and I just couldn't believe our eyes. How is it that we've collected so much stuff? But the fact is, when you're building an organization and you're growing, you tend to put up flab at a number of places. And there's so much stuff within your organization. And the reality is that the organizations have to remain lean and run the show tight. And everybody needs to think like that, because fat cats don't hunt. And therefore, if you want to keep cutting ribbons, you have to keep cutting costs, right? And all of us want to keep cutting ribbons and to expand and do things, but we have to be merciless about the way we want to cut costs. Because the way you want to spend money, let's say on marketing, you want to spend money on people training, on having the best people. Similarly, you have to be as laser focused that if I have to keep cutting ribbons and keep expanding, I have to remember that fat cats don't hunt, right? So this is another relentless approach, I think, that we brought in 2010. Year on year on year, we've been investing in business, big investments, right? Because we knew that we have to invest, and unless we don't invest, we will not be able to keep improving our services and keep growing. So there's a lot of investment in infrastructure and people, but at the same time, we have to be cutting costs, right? So then it becomes a virtuous cycle. You invest, you grow your business, you cut costs, you invest, you grow your business, you cut costs. So it is a very virtuous cycle. It feeds onto itself. So that's the other big thing that we did within DHL. Okay. And then as you're doing that, you build excitement, right? So for example, we are building, now we have a number of facilities around the country within India and similarly around the whole world. There are leaderboards within facilities. There are leaderboards of revenue within different cities and countries. And similarly, on how well we are doing on delivery performance, the leaderboards. So then you have a lot of internal healthy competition on how you're driving quality, because then you're competing within yourself and different departments are competing and driving quality. Okay. All right. And then the next, so this is the culture of quality. The next culture, and this is something we've really, really invested big time. And this comes from right from the top, culture of learning. So very often, and I've worked in different organizations too, for that matter, not too many, but very often I think you see that you outsource training programs and they are stitched, but we're so focused on running our operations that at some level, this is a good to talk about thing, but not on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe not well ingrained, right? So I think within DHL, the culture of learning is ingrained on a scale of 1 to 10 at 10. I mean, that's a huge statement to make. But we have one common program across the whole world. If you ask anybody in DHL, he will, so did you have a passport? From his bag or his pocket, he'll take out his passport, which is a training passport. Every time he does one island of training, he goes to the next island, he gets a passport sticker, and that is when he gets a visa to go to the next island, right? So for example, I am a full-time trainer within DHL, and I train this program called Certified International Managers, right? Under the banner of Certified International Specialists. And I must have done in my career in DHL, maybe 60, 70 stand-up trainings. I don't remember the number right now. My CEO is a trainer. All my first line are, so we have got maybe, for example, we have 3,500 people in India. I think we must be having from within managers, 150 trainers. Now, every time I stand up and I talk about the culture of giving feedback, you know, I'm training myself that, you know what, if I'm telling people again and again and again, I better be role modeling it, right? And therefore, it's not about, I attended that training once 5 years ago on feedback. and that's about it. No, no, no. I attended that training. I became trained, and I am training the entire organization. My first line is involved in training the entire organization. So that was a huge move. It meant that we invested certain time in our training, but that internal modules, internal examples, we standing up and learning every day, because when you, the best form of learning, and I'm sure there are professors on the other side, the best form of learning is when you teach, right? And therefore, I'm at home and I'm telling my kids, and I use this example very often, that, you know what, I think, you know what, you shouldn't be watching so much mobile phone. And they take out my mobile phone and show me my screen time. I'm no good, right? So therefore, charity begins at home. And therefore, I need to be role modeling and displaying things which I want my children to follow. Isn't it the same example everywhere where we go? We need to role model what we expect, do what you expect from others, you know? You can't say, don't do as I do as I tell you to do, right? So you can't do that. So this, in its while I'm trying to paint a picture in front of you, but when you do this across 220 countries, this is a powerful cultural change. It's a culture of learning. But you know what? This needs investment. When I'm telling you, as one of the people who sit on the DHL board in India, that I've done 50 to 60 trainings. Imagine what the other people within DHL have done. And if you're investing so much of time, time is money. That means there is a vision right from the top that this is a must-do investment that we have to make in our organization, you know. And I'll sum it up later, but this is the kind of culture that we've built, culture of learning over a period of time. And then culture of customer centricity. The very simple word, ICCC. Now, you look at this word, right? You ask some of our people, tell me, how are you so customer centric? You call up customer service on our number, and somebody will pick up. He said, that person will say, you know what, we are insane. We have an insanely customer-centric culture. Now, just when you say it, you start feeling something. You start feeling goosebumps, right? We are insanely customer-centric. So therefore, at some level, some of these things, when they're rightly said, shape direction in the minds of people, right? So are we feeling sick to the stomach if one of our customers is ever disappointed? This applies across functions, and I'll build on that a bit more. So therefore, we embraced this thought of being insanely customer-centric. Now, for example, we have a meeting, a forum every month, which runs at different levels, and we call that forum Insanely Customer-Centric Forum, right? And in that, we are bringing issues that are happening in the field all the time. We hear voice of customers, we hear internal voices, and we act on them month on month on month. So you build a structure and you go behind it. But just the word itself orients you so well on what you have to be and what you stand for in the market. I'll build a bit more on this ICCC. So this is how it stands up, right? You take ownership and you fix issues. Very often people see issues, right? So we say, you know what, if you see issues, you've got two responsibilities, pick up one of them. There's no third responsibility. One responsibility you have is that you do something about it, right? You've seen it. There's no better person to get it corrected. But if you can't do something about it, please make sure you park the issue at the place of the person, at the desk of the person who can do something about it. Because you've seen the issue, you don't earn cribbing rights, right? That you sit in a lunch table, say, you know what, this is a big problem that we have. No. We don't have to be a part of the problem. We have to be part of the solution. But you know what? This is the more you talk about it, the more you talk about the insanely customer-centric culture and taking ownership and fixing issues, the more people start doing it. And the more people start doing it, this is a movement, right? And it's all ground up, right? It causes such a groundswell, it makes a big impact. And therefore, all these things start improving our customer experience because every small thing counts. That's a reality. Every small thing counts, right? So with this, I'll show you the structure, for example, that I follow when I'm running business development. I know that I have customers across the triangle, right? As you go up in the customer hierarchy, you have very large customers who give you large revenues, but the ticket size keeps coming down as I keep coming down in the customers. And here I have many customers. For example, in India, we have about 650 retail outlets where we employ about 1,300 plus people manning these retail outlets, just retail outlets management. And we have thousands of customers who are walking into our retail outlets, right? So therefore, how is it that I manage? But the same customer rarely comes back to me in the same year because they only have so much requirement, right? For example, if an Indian lady walks into our retail outlet to send Rakhi to her brother abroad, she may come during the Rakhi time and maybe come back the next year. So the frequency of interaction is very little. So what is the structure I put around managing these customers? And as the frequency goes up and the interaction goes up, the solutions become more complex. And there are some customers who are absolutely global. I'm in 220 countries, they are in 200 countries, but they want to manage the entire thing by talking to one person globally. How do we build those structures? And somewhere we do industry sector management. So the policy and philosophy on managing different customers in different segments is absolutely different, right? And so, and therefore, what my person in my telesales team or retail team would be doing would be absolutely different on what my salesperson in the customer solutions and innovation teams would be doing, right? So there's a lot of criteria that we follow, and basis this we decide how is it that we approach customers, and which is very, very customer centric in the way we operate, right? Okay, and therefore, what it all comes down to, now this is beautiful. We started down this journey very long ago, as you can see, which is net promoter approach. And we kept asking ourselves, you know, how much is good enough? We started at this number. We had 46% promoters, and you can see some detractors also, right? And we had a net promoter score of 30%. But this is about, so what we're doing is we're running this practice every day. And we realize that, you know, ask customer an honest question, just one question, and he gives you a rating. And if he is not a promoter, a detractor, or if he's not a detractor, he's neutral, talk to them and how you can make the experience better. Now, I'm saying it very simply, but when you're running it across the organization, and we run touch points in operations, we run touch points in customer service, in customs clearance, in finance, in account management. And so our managers in sales are calling up customers, you know what, so we had an experience, we called you, said this, and these calls are happening month on month on month. And therefore, what you're really doing is you're picking up small issues and acting on them. There is feedback coming, and you have a live mechanism. You take the feedback today, the manager calls the customer tomorrow. This is happening month on month for so many years, right? You see how a net promoter score has gone up, because what we're doing is not everything needs a big treatment. The smaller issues get handled there and then. The customers know that, you know what, we are concerned about them. And we're doing that month on month for many years. The principle of, I mean, somewhere people say the main thing is that the monotony of things shouldn't bore you, but monotony is the success of the organization. The main part of doing things well is doing them in a certain level, improving that level monotonously, right? So monotony, you have to handle that monotony, right? So, and if you've gone up, you see, this is the real number that we have. And having a net promoter score, we say that NPS of 50 plus is absolutely best in class, right? So we are beating our best in class year on year. And these are 2020 numbers, mark you, and these are till date. These are recent numbers, as recent as maybe last week, right? And we know what is happening around us, right? And we know that we're not doing it our best right now, because there's so many challenges in the environment. But I'm sure that our customers know, that our employees know that we may not be doing our best. We may not be at our best right now, but you know what? We are doing our best, and that's guaranteed. So as long as you're doing your best, it shows, right? And therefore, you're listening to customers and doing your best. This is a very strong foundation that we built over a period of time. And as a matter of fact, whatever I'm talking, this is an output number. This is an output number, right? Okay, so coming to selling, and very often we get into conferences, we say, you know, who is a salesperson? And the conference has 500 or 1,000 people, and there are people from all departments and all functions, and everybody raises their hand and say, I am a salesperson. You know, the fact is, in an organization, everyone is a salesperson. Now, this is a different thing, difficult thing to arrive on in an organization. And we very often we hear so many people talking about saying, you know, we have silos in our organization, yeah? But all of you are working for the same organization. I understand there can be differing KPIs and different objectives, but there has to be a glue which binds everybody, because the fact of the matter is, and I'll show you the next slide, how different functions are responsible for customer satisfaction. Fact of the matter is, sales represents only one of the many customer touch points. And I'm giving our example, right? We have a large customer service department, CS. They are a customer touch point. We do pickups and delivery, operations, they are a customer touch point. We do billing and collection, finance, they are a customer touch point. We have so many IT tools that we take to the customers, right? The customer's experience is dependent on the IT tools. They are a customer touch point. So if everybody is not thinking that, I'm a salesperson and I'm serving only one entity, and that one entity is the customer, and link their actions with that customer. Some people will say, no, I have internal customers. No, that's not correct. You, at any point of time, have to have clarity on what your connection is with the external customer, because that is eventually who you are serving. If HR doesn't make sure that replacement of people happens in a very short period of time, when somebody leaves and they have to backfill, if they don't backfill quickly enough, the customer's satisfaction suffers, right? Therefore, every action that we do, if I do not create a good learning and development environment through HR, and I don't make sure as HR that every manager in my company is recruited on the learning and development agenda, I'm making sure that motivated people are not happening. And I'm making sure if motivated people are not happening, I'm not giving good service quality, right? So therefore, as HR, I have far-reaching impact, and I have to connect my actions with the final customer, because sales represents only one of the many customer touch points. And this is the real sense of an organization growing up, right? Okay, so moving on to winning mindset. So what's a winning mindset all about? So as you have the right culture and you have the right strategy and culture very together, you will slowly start noticing that your people are moving into the winning mindset and start showing on people, right? And I'll tell you a good instance in our company, right? As I've shown the way NPA has moved up, as I've showed our EBIT has moved up, as I've showed about our focus strategy, we used to participate in an external award called Great Places to Work, right? So, there's an institute called Great Places to Work. They run this globally. And we used to participate in India. Over the last many years, we've been participating and doing things. But look, if you become beautiful from within, you automatically start become beautiful from outside, right? So what is good within is so important. And as we were so focused on our focus strategy, our Great Places to Work score started improving. I'm very proud to share with you that we moved from somewhere around 100 to 50 to 35 to maybe 20. If I'm trying to remember my numbers, I don't remember my numbers right now completely, but I know the number we had this year, to 9 to 5. And this year, in a big country like India, in the Great Places to Work, we were number 2 best company to work for. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, right? Things take time, but as long as you're focused on the right things, and if you're beautiful within, it starts showing on the outside, right? So on innovation, very often you say, if you give only one tool to your people, which is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail. So there's a structure around what tools you give to people, right? And tools like 5S, and I'll not get into too many details here, but for example, DMAC is a Six Sigma tool. All the processes that we do when we capture the voice of the customer through NPA, and some of the larger processes we approach through DMAC, so that they become institutionalized in our system. Gemba, every manager is supposed to do Gemba, right? Gemba is a Japanese word, which basically means, I think, in action. So are you at the place where the action is happening, right? So if I'm an ops manager, am I going on the floor, the shop floor with my people, where my people are working, and seeing how things are happening, how processes are happening, and live their life along with them? Am I doing it enough? Or am I locked in my cabin making PowerPoints all the time? And the more Gembas you do, and this applies to all functions, all supervisors, the more data points you pick up. The more data points you pick up, what you do is you improve the ease of working within. And you improve the ease of working within, your processes improve. You become a great company to work for, right? Performance dialogues. Am I having a team meeting every morning? 20 minutes, standard template, just do it. Talk about what was good yesterday, what are we doing today, what are the concerns, are people happy, etc., and move on. Now, if is this happening across the company, performance dialogues, these small tools, because you know what, you have to approach micro problems actually. But generally people are looking for those big ideas. The fact is, small ideas make a big difference. Yeah, you get a big idea, fantastic. But the real hard truth is there are many small problems to solve. Look for those small things and keep solving things. Now you look at this now on problem solving, and I'll relate this with business development. So what are we? What are my entire team of business development and salespeople? What are we really? And I like to think we are problem solvers, right? And if you go around meeting customers and don't sell, you solve problems. But to solve problems, you have to have that mindset. And if you're solving problems, what you're doing is you're finding solutions. And if you're finding solutions, customers love you, right? And because they love you, they want to deal with you. So are we problem solvers or are we salespeople? I'd like to believe we are problem solvers. And it's a whole mindset thing. You start thinking like that, you start behaving like that. So it's about giving tools to people. And some of these tools have really become very big examples. For example, I'll give you one example, though I mentioned three, which is celluware. So we have conveyor belts, right? So these are conveyor belts with rollers, which can move in any direction. So this roller is going in this direction. This roller can rotate in some other direction. And so there's an intelligence algorithm built in that they read. Let's say I'm packing stuff and I'm putting them in different bags, and I'm creating a bag for, say, America, and I'm creating a bag for Germany, and I'm creating a bag for South Africa. But basis what's there on the barcode of the bag, they scan the barcodes and they move the bags or the shipments in different directions, and they go to different directions in different bays, and then these bays, the shipment get bagged, etc., and moved on. So this is something that came from doing Gemba, for understanding our processes and innovating and working with maybe an external company to innovate. So we use celluwares internally, and there are similar innovations that we're doing. And while we're doing innovations of today, we're doing a lot of innovations of tomorrow. So we have a trend radar firmly placed, right, from self-delivery vehicles to artificial intelligence and stuff like that. So therefore, there are technology trends that we have to monitor, and anything which is in a high impact zone, we have to be keeping on working on that, because we don't want to, what let's say technology or internet did to Britannica, we don't want something else to do to us. We would rather deconstruct our own self, right, and destruct and construct something new. And therefore we have to be aware as an organization. It applies to all of us, right? And I often say the one thing that I want to practice and live and role model is that I want to be a student forever, because I want to be better today than I was yesterday. And I know that I can be a better person tomorrow. And I know that my best is yet to come. And as long as I'm chasing that, and as long as organizations are chasing that, and they're aware that they have to be innovating and continuously reinventing themselves, I think that they'll absolutely move in the right direction. And therefore, to sum it all, for us, the main thing is that we are absolutely glued to our focus strategy. I talked about motivated people, delivering great service quality, serving loyal customers, and therefore generating a profitable business. As long as we are focused on that, and we know that that's our main thing, because the secret of success is the main thing in life is to keep the main thing, yeah. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation, because this is the hard truth. Whatever I'm talking, if I'm not executing daily, then it's a problem. Yeah, and therefore I have to keep the main thing as the main thing. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Juneja. It was short. At least I thought it was short, but it was so full of, important learnings that, my head is still swimming around it. Okay. But one thing I can vouch for is that Mr. Juneja is, he was not talking, he was walking the talk. Because I remember when the webinar had started, he just wanted to make sure, his DHL logo shows. And when he talks, the excitement in his voice and the passion in his voice, it is amazing, amazing. So when you say that a motivated employee, you believe, I believe you. So, and that customer centricity and all. So he has touched on so many concepts that I really don't know where to start, right? But the important thing from the point of view of our audience, and we'll open the floor soon to questions, is that, when he talks about strategy, culture, and processes, there's one thing I'm very, very curious about is, you talked about global SOPs, right? But, when you're working in a country like India, which has got a culture of its own, so that culture of global SOPs, does it conflict with a country culture or people's culture, or the way of doing things culture, that chalta hai attitude culture? So I'm very curious to know, have you found that conflict or how have you resolved that conflict?
So, you know, I've learned by making this mistake many times. They say that that the smartest people are those who learn from others' mistakes. Less smarter are those who learn from their mistakes, and the dummies are those who don't even learn from anybody's mistake, not from their mistake. But I think I've done all stages. I've been a dummy, etc. And I've not learned from my mistakes. Sometimes learned from mine, sometimes others. But I think I've learned that, you know, we have many things, many processes which become global, and therefore many times different countries say, you know what, yeah, this is India, and this is Philippines, or this is Malaysia, or this is Singapore. We are different. Right? But the fact of the matter is, at the heart, at the core, we are not different. We are all the same, right? And that's so true. And the basic concepts hold true everywhere. It is possible, however, that our operating environment is different. Yeah. For example, in Singapore, if I give credit in the market, I always know nobody can run away with my money. But that may not be true in some countries globally, right? I will be very afraid of people will run away with my money if I don't safeguard myself. Or let's say the ease of doing business index, if I am in top 10 countries, my ease of doing business practices are different. So therefore, there are some practices which get localized and you build some local systems. So therefore, organizations have to have the resilience and flexibility to incorporate their local intelligence and not be too rigid about it. But at the core, the standard operating procedures are always the same and they cannot be different. And we shouldn't fool ourselves by saying, you know what, India is different. यहाँ हमारा country में नहीं चलता है सब कुछ. That's in my learning and in my mistakes that I have made, I've learned that this is not true.
True. And I agree with you. I think human emotions are same everywhere. And you know, when you talk about customer centricity, customer is customer, no matter what country he's coming from and what culture he brings. And then when you talk about business development, for example, so as you very correctly said, you know, if you're solving a problem, you're automatically making a sale. Absolutely. Right? Because at the end of the day, customer wants a solution, right? And we are service providers. It's a very different way of dealing with customers who, if we were in a tangible product industry, you know, we would just give a very standardized product. But now we are talking about customized solutions. We are talking about, you know, adapting to the customer needs. So I found such hidden gems in your conversation. And I'm going to play it on the loop again, just to, you know, pick it out. But I'll leave the floor open to questions now. We have 13 questions either in your chat box as well. Do you want me to read them out, or would you like to take one?
I can save you some time. Hang on, I will.
Okay.
I just saw the chat box somewhere.
Yeah, it's a Q&A on the top, you know. So question and answers.
One sec. Should I stop sharing? Are you okay with that?
Yes. Please.
Okay. Q&A. What's the question in the Q&A section? Brilliant. Yes. Okay. So I have Gulista Ansari. That's a lovely name. It says, so in business, we either lose or earn profit. So businessman must be risk bearer. So while investing, I mean, you're investing money, how you motivate yourself. Look, I mean, my word is not gospel. I don't know everything. I'm only trying to share what I have learned, right? And therefore, in any business, I would like to believe that if you are focused on solving a problem, the profit is an output. It happens, right? I'm not saying that, you know, solve problems, profit will happen, but as I talked about the virtuous cycle, you keep cutting costs, you keep investing in people, you keep investing in your business, because unless you don't cut costs, you don't earn that extra money to invest back in people and business. Unless you don't make those investments, you don't grow in quality, you're not able to compete. So the point is, somewhere you have to stop and take a hard look saying, am I in a virtuous cycle, or am I in a cycle where, you know what, I'm cutting costs so that I can cut some corners, या थोड़े पैसे बच जाएंगे, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, थोड़ी quality will suffer, but who's bothered about this quality? No. There are a lot of people who are very discerning about quality. It's not only you, there are many players in the market. But as long as you're offering the best, as long as you're focusing that you're cutting costs meaningfully, and you're focused and you don't become a fat cat, you're in a virtuous cycle, and don't fall in the cycle which is vicious. You cut costs, the quality falls, less customers buy from you. Less customers buy from you, say, "Arey, profit kam ho raha hai yaar, thoda cost aur kam karo," you cut more costs, right? So some things are very intuitive and simple, right? But I know they're not as simple as I'm saying to practice, yeah, because there are real life difficulties there. But at the core, you have to stick to them, and that's the only way. And but if you keep down the lane of the virtuous cycle, you know you'll come out a winner eventually. Long and shorter cycles is debatable. So I hope I'm answering your question. Then Ganesh is saying in 2050, oh wow, thank you for bringing that up. DHL is planning to become a company with zero emissions. What kind of sustainable practices are being done to achieve this goal? No, I didn't plant that question. I don't even know Ganesh, right? But but the fact of the matter is we are a company, we are a transport company. We are guzzling fuel. We are flying so many aeroplanes, running so many facilities, electricity, running so many vehicles, right? We're guzzling fuel. But we're very painfully aware of the environment and the way temperatures are growing globally, so of the global environment conditions. And we are very painful aware of our responsibility of the environment that we want to leave behind for our children and their children, right? And if we don't do that, then I don't think this is not going to be a place worth living. It's actually very profound. Therefore, it's coming from the top, and I really believe in it. I believe in it, right? And not only me, everybody in my company has undergone a self-learning training on zero logistics, zero emissions, or go green as we call it. And they're all very aware. It's very, very powerful. And the many practices that we're doing in our facilities of saving power, electricity, green vehicles, making sure that we are planting X trees, offering a facility to our customers to earn carbon credits. And there's so much work that we're doing around the whole world. I don't remember the numbers right now in India itself, how many 100,000 trees are we planting every year? But we're giving back to to Mother Earth, to nature, more than what we are consuming. Therefore, we are moving towards, I think we had some target by 2020, which we achieved by 16. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact numbers, but cutting down my logistics emissions by maybe some X%. I can fill up the X later. But the big challenge that our global CEO has thrown up is, can we be a zero emission country by a zero emission company by 2050? And I think we will be. I firmly believe we are making huge efforts. For example, all facilities going down the solar route. These are things which are happening across the world, right? The DHL is the logistics sponsor of Formula One. How do you people manage time between two races? So I think there are some very, very smart people on the call, and that is the challenge, right? One of the things that we stand for is speed, right? And therefore, if we do not display speed, and you are right, moving so many cars and there are X races happening through the country, there's only so much time to move from one to the other country. And moving the entire cars, paraphernalia, paddock, etc., from one to the other place, there's a special team deployed, and therefore, at some level, DHL speed, the value that the few things that we stand for, one of them is speed. How does it identify with not only the speed of the cars running, but the speed of the whole, managing the whole event, right? So the big team, some planes deployed to only service Formula One, and that's the way we are able to service it. Thank you for asking this question. How do you carry shipments from sea? Do you have your own cargo containers? So DPDHL is, so I come from DHL Express, which is in time sensitive movement. So we mostly fly our stuff internationally. But there's a company called DHL Global Forwarding, and they manage containers. And there's another company called DHL Supply Chain. They manage 3PL, 4PL warehouse, etc. And then there's a Deutsche Post, which is the postal company of Germany, DPDHL, that's where the companies, and then there are the small companies in the group. So yeah, so we obviously work with carriers, and build containers, LCL, FCL. So that's another service that we offer. In view of the environmental concerns, what sustainability initiatives have been taken by DHL globally and Indian context specifically? So therefore, there are three pillars that we follow. The three pillars are go teach, go help, and go green. And there's a good question on zero emission. I've answered the go green pillar already. The other two pillars that we follow across the globe are go teach. So we are connected with many institutions, and we are contributing to make sure that the teaching reaches the right people and everybody. And the number of initiatives we do around that. And therefore, go help is around helping when natural disasters happen, We work with the UN, we fly up planes. There's a disaster response team within DHL who works when disasters happen, for example, Haiti or some other place when disasters happen. DHL is contributing very actively as a supply chain provider. So that's how we contribute to the sustainability of Earth and the environment. The next is, how does DHL perform any intra-logistics functions? I don't know what that means. So maybe
Intralogistics is within the organization. Say, for example, you're a 3PL service provider for an automobile company. So do you manage their movement of their goods within the warehouses?
Yeah. Okay. And so with many organizations, as I said, we did 3PL, 4PL, and LLP models. So these models are really evolving. So with many organizations, for example, JLR, right? You know JLR. So JLR, we are there right up to the shop floor, right? So we are managing everything for them, which is inventory to manufacturing, their entire logistics, their intra-logistics also, and right up to the assembly line. We're managing the whole thing for JLR. And similarly, for another pharma company, we manage something called order to cash. So what they say is that, you know what, I am good at R&D and manufacturing. I will do that. You manage everything else. So the orders coming in, their warehouses, their inventory levels, their dispatches across the countries, their domestic dispatches, collection of the samples or medicines which go bad, destroying those medicines. So we follow the O2C for them. So there's a lot of different models that we do. Also some inventory ownership in many cases. So I hope that answers you the questions. But DHL Supply Chain, which is a group company, handles all these things. Yeah. Then her need is answering, how valuable are process excellence methodologies like Six Sigma, TQM, and creating a culture of customer? I think, do all projects follow? I think it's very, very, very important, right? If I'm able to baseline something, and if I capture the voice of customer, internal or external, and put a DMAC approach around it, then the process really becomes institutionalized. But you have to differentiate between, for example, I talked about NPA, which is also process excellence, right? So there were many small things which you just settle on the go, right? You settle them. But the organization, as long as they're capturing these feedbacks and then culling them down, saying, you know what, this feedback is just not going away. It is more a process issue. And then you attack that feedback basis using DMAC, then I think you're institutionalizing. So it has to be a mix of, you fix some things quickly and you make sure that while you're doing, we're fixing things quickly, you're not doing quick fixes, right? So there's a difference between fixing things quickly and doing quick fixes. So I think you understand what I'm saying. So yes, we follow DMAC and these approaches very, very. And he goes on to ask, I agree with the fact that everyone is a salesperson, but aren't feedbacks collected from only those entities? So are you being able to understand my question? Because I'm reading it. Or should I read it out more? I'll read it out better. So Harneet goes on to ask, he says that I agree, everybody is a salesperson, but are feedbacks collected from only those entities that are in touch with the sales representatives? How do we holistically measure? So what we do is we look at functions which are touching a customer experience, and some way or the other, nearly all functions touch a customer experience. So for example, ops has a touch point, finance has a touch point, customer service has a touch point. So across different functions, we isolate the touch point and we run the process of net promoter approach around it. Then Prashant Tripathi says, sir, I'm impressed with your passport of success. Can you just give some rough figures of time and budget investment DHL do in training for employee? Okay, quite honestly, as I have not confessed, but I'm confessing, I don't know every number that my company is doing, but I think as I was trying to explain to you, the investment that a lot of us are making, there's a lot of investment in training, there's a lot of investment of time as well as money. Maybe Prashant, you can connect with me. I could check up some numbers, and if you want some thumb rules, then I can share that with you. So you can find me on different platforms, Sandeep Janeja. But we are seriously invested in this because we know that if we have to create a virtuous cycle of success, we have to stay seriously invested in this. You are some very nice person saying, Anand, is that Anand saying you're simply awesome as always. So I'll miss that. Since COVID, how is DHL India bridging the distance with its customers, given the way of doing business is not the same anymore? And so I'll be repetitive here, but I must tell you this, Anand. Thank you for your compliment. I'm humbled. But the fact is, Anand, that between you and me, we must have had occasions wherein we've discussed internally, can we work from home? And we've come out with the answer, no, maybe, but we've never taken the step. We're working from home, majority of, a number of us, not majority, a lot of people are still serving customers in the field, our couriers, our people in our facilities, on the airports, building containers. They're all working on the floor and in the field, right? But so many people are also working from home. But are people working less from home? Not at all. It's the opposite way around. People are working far more from home than they were working in the offices, right? Therefore, yeah, so if that's happening, I think you're serving customers, right? And so I think that ethos, that trust within organizations has never been tested more than it is right now. And we have come, all of us has come right on top, right? We really, the innate nature of a human being is wanting to do well and wanting to contribute. And let's not doubt that. And it's so well proven right now, right? Gulista comes back, says, and she's asking, I like how you encourage to solve the problem instead of leave the problems. Well, thank you for asking me that. And I very often say that. Now, I have to lead this by example, right? So I'm sitting with a group of people on the table. And if somebody on my table is thinking, you know what, if I say this, how is Sandeep going to feel? Is he going to feel good or bad? Now, no, it doesn't matter. It's important on how you feel about the thing which is in your mind. And if you say it, you know what, it comes out of your mind. You feel listened to. So I owe him that. I owe her that. And if that's she or he says something, it may be good for me and I will become better. So the culture of speaking up openly without measuring too much, I think is so important. And it's so missing in so many organizations. But do I role model that? Do I speak up all the time? But when I'm speaking, am I being respectful to the person opposite to me and being issue focused? The more we start practicing that, the more crisscross happens between our functions, right? Those silos fall and we become stronger as one. And I think that's so important, right? So that's the way I think I encourage, and that's the way all of us should encourage solving problems rather than leaving problems. And I said two things. One is, if you see a problem, do something about it, solve it. Or if you can't do something about it, take it to the right person who can do something about it. Really insightful, Sandeep. Sorry, my screen is not very good. Being from the same industry, I must acknowledge that the session was insightful. Thank you very much. And Yakshit is being very nice, Dr. Anita. He's thanking you for organizing. Yeah, so thank you very much from my side also. And he says, my question is, how are you dealing with digital business development now that Gemba, face-to-face meetings are tough? Any innovative changes that you have incorporated in your BD team? Thanks in advance. Yes, I think the first is some basic stuff, right? You build protocols around what you expect people to do. And once you build protocols, you measure them, and then you show it to them that, you know what, we build protocols, this is how we're measuring, and you create visibility around it. That's, I think, the fundamental, whether you're doing face-to-face or you're doing from office. And then you provide tools, right? And when you're doing Gemba, you realize, I don't need to be prescriptive of what I am doing, but you know, right, that when you're doing Gemba, what is it that you can do to make the lives easier? And the more you make their lives easier, the more motivated people are from within. And if they are motivated from within, I think profits have to happen, right? So therefore, around innovation, I think protocols, leaderboards, equipping them well, staying connected on a regular basis, I think it's so important. And maybe I'll be repetitive because you'll know all of this, right? But doesn't it apply in normal time that you have to stay connected? But I think it applies far more, because otherwise you could still see each other. Right now you don't see each other. It becomes more difficult. And sometimes people like the sound in their ear, and they like to say, hi Yakshit, how are you doing? And they see you and they feel good about it. So make sure those connections are warm. They don't turn cold, and your people will stay motivated. You will stay motivated, right? So my short answer to your questions. DHL supply chain manages 10 million square feet and around 100 customers in India. So that's Ashish, my colleague. Ashish, thank you very much for putting that figure in. So DHL supply chain is an awesome organization in terms of processes. They manage some of the real marquee customers, global big names and Indian big names, and doing an awesome job. And you see the now amount of million square feet they're managing, and they have built to suit facilities. Then somebody says, I have a facility. Can I take this corner from you? Yes, yeah, here you go, right? So, and lot of stuff around next gen inventory management tools, warehouse management, etc. What the supply chain is doing. Sunil Kumar says, sir, in reference to mention of the focus strategy of DHL towards loyal customers, how does one focus on loyal customers who are already existing? Please elaborate. My one answer is focus on motivated people, and they will help you not only at making your customers loyal, but getting far more new customers. So the answer doesn't change, my friend. It stays the same. And that doesn't mean don't focus on GSOPs, but the top of the pyramid for you, it has to be motivated people, right? And then as you do Gemba, as people are charged up, you will see a sea of change, right? So the software guys the next question is again from Sunil, software guys who set the parameters for alerting the GSOP deviations must be in-house for DHL, or is it outsourced? When is such a call taken? How are such parameters of quality set? I think it's both, that's both in-house and out and outside the house. So, and this applies. Let me relate something quickly. How much time do we have? We're running out of time now.
Yeah, 5 more minutes, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, just 5 minutes.
So the real principle is that, in any organization, the best ideas, come from just anywhere. Yeah. As you keep going up the ladder, some rooms become bigger, and maybe some rooms don't even have windows for ideas to come in and go out, right? So it's so important to stay connected with the front line, because that's where the ideas come from. And stay recharged in your mind, because unless the senior management is not fully connected with what's happening on the ground, they don't get ideas, they don't learn things. If they don't learn things, they're not able to bring those digital changes which are happening around. So I think it's so important for us to be learning from people that we're hiring. And do you have a program of learning from these people and staying connected? It's so true, right? You say, "Arey youngster hai, abhi to usko 10 saal lagenge seekhne mein." Nahin, the fact is, he knows or she knows many things that we don't know and we've not done. And do we have that, bridges of information between us and them, and how do we establish that?
Sure.
And once we know what we want, how we get it is very easy, right? What we want, once we know that, the how doesn't matter. How you can find the how, internal, external, find the best way. I think as organizations become bigger, the point is they want to standardize things and become so that it's easier for them to. Otherwise, you become a multi-headed monster, and therefore some things become global and big in nature. Some you do internally, some you work with companies outside. Any examples or issues faced in subsequent innovations? Oh, hundreds of examples and hundreds of issues, because the government is trying to do their best, but they're also learning with what's going on right now. The customs laws, the airlines flying into India, the state by state laws, what can go out, who can go out, what are the permits? Very, very complicated. And the biggest of all, I think, how do we take care of the health of our employees who go out? We didn't know as much about Corona in the month of March as we do now. Yeah. So, but the fact is that, we have to live with this new reality and beat it, right? I'm sure we'll beat it. We become better at tackling it. Therefore, we're super focused on the health of our employees, because if we stay super focused on the health of our employees, other things will follow. So there've been many challenges. I can only discuss so much, but as long as you're focused on the basics, I think, and you are continuously learning. And I was reading it somewhere, I'll say that line now. It's not about whether you get challenged by challenges. You obviously will get challenged, but it's how about you tackle those challenges is what's so important. They will keep coming all the time. They'll throw you down. You get up, you find your way and move out, move up and move. That's what differentiates the winners from losers, right? Thank you for asking me all these questions and making me think while I was asking this question. Dr. Anita, back to you.
Yes, thank you so much for a lovely session. I'll be failing in my duty if I do not talk a little bit about CI School of Logistics, and I do not pitch my sales, performance to you, in the sense that we have internships and placements, and it's time to, sell the school, sell my students to you. So forgive me for doing that, but yes, it is
let me know what problem will you solve for me, and then you don't have to sell to me.
Okay,
But
right.
thank you very much, and I'll remember that. Thank you.
Yes, and we have students who are now, learning about supply chain and logistics, and we have, students with digital skills and core domain knowledge, and they are ready to go and good to go. So 1921 batch of students with internships and placements. Yeah, okay. But again, let's start building relationships first. Let's motivate ourselves first, and then we will pitch in our sales talks to you. For
Thank
sure.
you very much.
But what I really loved about the whole session was I could relate to every word I have been a salesperson myself, indirectly, directly, I don't know. But the passion and, you know, the excitement clearly came through. And the fact that, you know, you are a hardcore DHL person, everything, not only the logo of your t-shirt, but the way you talk, the way you carry, it's amazing, amazing. So thank you for being with us. And I hope once, you know, Corona abates, we will have you in Amity University, you know, for a more face-to-face session.
Inshallah.
It's been a great, yes, it's been a great learning experience for our students. And we hope to bring you back probably for more TQM tools or whatever you choose to talk about. But everything is a gem. Believe me, every word is a gem. So thank you very much. And I would like to close the session now. Thank you all the participants, people from the industry, our dear students, faculty members for joining in. Do stay tuned in, you know, for more exciting webinar series. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.